What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are going to continue our coverage over Dan Slott's Fantastic Four run, and we pick up with Volume 7. Now, this is a weird collection, not in a bad way like the stories are bad or anything, but more of the idea of this collection is very strange because this picks up right after the ending of Empire, that big, huge crossover event that Marvel gave us that we actually covered not too long ago. But on top of that right there, just after one story, they jump into the next Marvel event, which is The King in Black. And so we actually do have a couple tie-ins in this volume, but those tie-ins will be covered in a later video. This video is more about the idea of the Forever Gate, this new concept that Marvel is giving the Fantastic Four, and of course Dan Slott's idea to give this concept over to the Fantastic Four series. Now honestly, I like this book because it does bring back a character that Dan Slott made, but on top of that, it does kind of give us an idea or a possible future for Franklin Richards down the road that technically did make a lot of fans angry when that moment actually happened in this story. But you'll see what I mean as we go through this video. But if you do like today's comic book video, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, here we go. And so to begin today's video, we actually do pick up with Fantastic Four number 25. Now, when we do that, we actually pick up 4 hours in the future. Now, this is actually huge because we actually pick up with a new character named the Cormorant. And I really hope I pronounced that correctly. Now, the Cormorant is going to be very important for the early chapter of this video, but not really the last few chapters of this video. Now, with that being said though, you do have the Cormorant actually talking to its master, and its master's name of course is the Helmsman. Now of course Dan Slott is not going to give us enough information to actually learn more about these characters for right now, but of course it's him setting up future things to come down the road. But either way though, you do have the Cormorant actually go down to Earth, and of course it does blow up the Baxter building, and the reason why because it's looking for a certain kind of item, and that item was hidden somewhere in the Baxter building. But the big question is now, what in the world was actually inside the Baxter building? And so now we must jump back in time to learn what was inside the Baxter building. And so that is the moment we actually do jump into the present day, no longer in the future, where we actually pick up with Nick Fury meeting up with Susan Storm. Now, this is Nick Fury basically telling us, the readers, that when it comes to Susan and her ability to turn herself invisible, it made her the perfect spy to send in to different locations across the world. Now, with that being said, you actually have Nick Fury giving her another mission. And the reason why, because some of the best lockboxes across the world have been broken into, and none of the items have any connection to one another. Now, the one connection these lockboxes do have with one another is how they were broken into. Basically, a huge hole was left inside every single lockbox, meaning that whoever is going around looking for a certain item is leaving a gaping hole in these lockboxes. And the reason why Nick Fury is giving this mission over to Susan is because the next lockbox that could possibly be attacked belongs to Dr. Doom. And of course, is in a location that's on the U.S. soil, the embassy of Latveria. And so Susan must break into that embassy to get that lockbox to hopefully protect it before it gets attacked by whoever is going around attacking lockboxes. But then we actually do pick up with Reed Richards and Valeria Richards, where right now you have the two characters working on a special project that is actually going to be very important for the storyline. Now I'm going to tell you, it's a new kind of teleporter, and this teleporter is actually going to play a very big role in the future parts of this video. But of course, it's kind of nice to see Reed spending some time with his daughter, actually bonding with her, but of course their new machine is going to cause a lot of problems down the road. Now that is the moment you actually do have Johnny Storm stop by the room of Franklin Richards, where you actually have Franklin Richards receiving a brand new suit by his uncle. Now of course this is Dan Slott also reminding us what's going on with Franklin Richards, because in X-Men books and also Fantastic Four books and crossovers as well, we have been learning that Franklin Richards' powers have been going away slowly. Now on top of that, at this point in Marvel Comics, he is still a mutant. And so right now you basically have the mutant race been helping Franklin to find a way to restore his powers. But he's been away for so long, Johnny Storm feels like he's losing connections with his nephew, because his nephew has been spending a lot of times with the X-Men to hopefully figure out why his powers are going away. But then we pick up with Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters. Now you have to remember, at this point in Marvel Comics, thanks to Dan Slott, these two characters are now married. On top of that, they have adopted two children. Of course, the two children they adopted are aliens. One is a Kree and one is a Skrull, Nakala and also Joven. Now, these two characters, these kids, they were actually bred to be perfect specimens for their races to fight against one another, because you have to remember, in the early days of Marvel Comics, and matter of fact, most of the days of Marvel Comics, the Kree and the Skrulls will fight against one another, better known as the Kree-Skrull War. But thanks to Empire, that war had ended. And of course, the children, Joven and Nakala, they will now basically no longer fight against one another because the war is over. And so Ben Grimm had kind of adopted them to be a family with him, his wife Alicia Masters, and of course them as well. And so it's a new way for Dan Slott to make another family in the Fantastic Four books. But getting back over to the mission of Susan Storm, we actually do see her right now breaking into the embassy of Latveria. Now she's hoping that Dr. Doom is not there. And the reason why, because Dr. Doom actually hates Susan with a passion, because what she did earlier, which was she turned his mask invisible when Dr. Doom was on live television. And so of course the entire world saw his face, his disfigured face. And so ever since then, this man basically hates Susan Storm. And so she's hoping to break into the embassy to make sure to get that lockbox and get out. But of course, she runs into Dr. Doom, the guy she was trying to avoid. And also Dr. Doom brought his assistant, of course known as Victorious, as he called his herald. Now, of course, you do have Susan try to stay invisible, but that is when the embassy is under attack by no other than the Cormorant. And remember, we saw him at the very beginning of our video, and he was going around to different locations looking for something. And so that means Nick Fury's case is tied into this character right here. He came here to Dr. Doom's embassy to find Dr. Doom's lockbox to find a certain item. But of course, the Cormorant did not find the item he was looking for, and so he just left. And so now you have Dr. Doom kind of like, listen, if he came here to my place looking for a certain item and that kind of lockbox, and what he saw inside was not what he needed, that means he's going on to his next target. And his next target is what your husband has, Reed Richards, what he has locked away. Now, you do have Susan actually call up her husband to ask him if he does have some kind of lockbox that is very special and very rare. And you have Reed say yes. But once Susan begins to explain more details of this kind of lockbox, you have Reed kind of like, if somebody's here looking for that sort of lockbox, that lockbox is actually buried underneath the Baxter building. And so you have Reed and the Fantastic Four hurry up to go over to the Baxter building, which now explains why we saw the Cormorant attack the Baxter building at the very beginning of this video. And the reason why, because underneath the Baxter building, Reed had basically buried something very powerful. Now you have to remember, when it came to Dan Slott's run, he brought the Fantastic Four back into the main universe after they had recreated the multiverse. But the problem is, though, when they came back, the Baxter building was no longer theirs. It was actually taken over by a off-brand Fantastic Four team known as the Fantastics, and right now they own the Baxter building. And so Reed was trying to call them up and say, hey, you need to leave the Baxter building, it's about to be blown up. But right when the Fantastic Four get nearby the Baxter building, of course we know it was blown up because we saw it at the very beginning of our video. Now, you do have the Fantastic Four freaking out because when they arrive at the Baxter building location, they see it has been completely wiped out. And so you do have Susan and Dr. Doom actually arrive at the location of where the Baxter building used to be at. But of course, you do have Susan ask her husband what's inside that container. And of course, Reed say, listen, we do not have time for this right now. We got to stop that creature. But you do have Valeria actually look up the notes on that container, and she realized what her father had locked away inside that container, which of course is going to begin the process of her trying to figure out how to save the day. But then we actually do pick up with our heroes trying to fight against the Cormorant after he just blew up the Baxter building like it was nothing. Now you do have Ben Grimm going first, which makes sense because Ben Grimm is kind of like the powerhouse on the team. Well, just with strength. But of course, the Cormorant is able to send Ben Grimm flying across the city like it was nothing. And so now it comes down to the rest of the Fantastic Four. Now you do have Reed actually sent in his son, Franklin Richards, because before this book, Franklin Richards was a very, very, very powerful character. But over the last couple stories, we have seen Franklin Richards slowly getting into the idea of him being depowered. But either way, though, you do have the Fantastic Four actually send in Franklin Richards as a way to battle against the Cormorant, because he's the only one who could actually stand a chance against this creature. Now, this fight does last for a little bit, but of course, Franklin Richards' powers go away completely at the worst time. He just ran out of gas, if you want to put it like that. But either way, you do have Susan and Reed get their son out of there, but now they know it comes down to them and Dr. Doom and Victorious as a way to stop this creature before things get even worse. Now, you do have Franklin actually run over to the COPPA gate. Now remember, these gates were put around the world by the X-Men as a way to help mutants leave their countries and go over to the new mutant country better known as COPPA. Now, with Franklin Richards being a mutant at this point in Marvel Comics, he's hoping that he can use the gate and hopefully get some backup for the Fantastic Four by asking the X-Men. But when he gets near the gate and he runs through the gate, he doesn't teleport. And that right there is huge because those gates can only be used if you're a mutant. If Franklin cannot use that gate, that means with his powers being gone, there could be a possibility that he's no longer a mutant. But getting back to the rest of our heroes, they do try to stop the Cormorant, but they can't do anything at all. This creature, this character, is just way too powerful for our heroes to actually stop. But that is the moment you do have the Cormorant go over to the lockbox that belongs to Reed Richards, opens it up, and realize the item inside is not something he wants at all for his master. And so this creature just leaves the planet entirely. But of course, you would think that means the day is saved. But here comes the problem though. What Reed had locked away is very, very powerful, but also unstable. And so now this new powerful thing could wipe out all life across the universe. It's better known as the Zero Force. Now, you do have Reed explain what is the Zero Force, and basically it is the energy that is used to wipe out a universe but kind of bring in a new universe. Think of it like a reset button to reset the universe. But of course, you have Reed kind of freaking out because right now, he does not want this universe to be resetted at all. And so you have the Fantastic Four trying to think of different ways they can actually contain the Zero Force. But that is the moment you actually have Valeria appear with her teleporter that her and her father worked on earlier. And she throws it right into the Zero Force as a way to trap it. But of course, with her doing that, she made a new problem. And that new problem is that she created the Forever Gate. Now, this is actually very important because with this gate being made thanks to her teleporter and the Zero Force, anybody can teleport to any time, anywhere across the universe if they want to, if they know how to access this new lovely teleporter known as the Forever Gate. And so now the Fantastic Four have a new problem because now any kind of bad guy could come after this gate to use this gate to go back in time to a certain point in a certain location to do some evil things. Now, getting into Fantastic Four number 26, we actually do pick up with the Human Torch and Sky arriving at the Florida Everglades. Now, this is kind of important, and the reason why, because the Florida Everglades is actually home to two different things. First, Man-Thing, a character most Marvel fans care for, but also it's the home of the nexus of all realities. Now, there is a good reason why this nexus of all realities is being brought up right now, because it is very similar to the Forever Gate, the new thing Valeria had made. But here's the big difference though. When it comes to the nexus of all realities, if you walk through it, you could end up anywhere, anytime in the universe. And of course, you do not have control over that. But when it comes to the Forever Gate, once Reed and Valeria gets it working, then you have the possibility and the ability to control where you'll go and what time in the universe. And so that is why there is a huge difference. And the Human Torch and Sky are here to just collect data. Now, if you're wondering who Sky is the new wife of Johnny Storm, because apparently where Sky came from on her home world, you basically get your significant other chosen for you, and the Human Torch was chosen for her, and so of course they kind of have been married ever since in their own kind of way. But she's here with her husband to gather data on the nexus of all realities. Now, we do pick up with Reed and Sue right now giving out a press conference to tell people what is going on with the Forever Gate. Now, of course, you don't have Reed and Sue actually giving all the information out to these people, these reporters, because they know if they do, and if that information gets out to other villains, it could possibly lead into more problems for the Fantastic Four down the road. But either way, you do have Reed tell the people that right now the Fantastic Four are going to be on guard the whole time until they're able to figure out what they can do with the Forever Gate. Now, you do have Valeria being able to figure out how to work out the Forever Gate because she does use it as a way to teleport herself over to the home world of her ex-boyfriend or soon-to-be ex-boyfriend, Oboro. Now, we saw Oboro in Fantastic Four #1 written by Dan Slott because, of course, with the Fantastic Four remaking the multiverse, they recreated this universe right here. And of course, Valeria fell in love with the king or prince of this universe. But when she arrives back into this world, she comes to find out that this dude has multiple wives. And of course, he wants Valeria to be another wife, something Valeria is not okay with. And so she just leaves. Now, you do have Valeria actually go back home to Franklin Richards, her brother, and she's kind of hoping that her brother will be that big brother in a way, kind of like, hey, comfort her, because she went through a very big thing for her. Finding out that your boyfriend wants to have you as just one of many wives, it's kind of hard for her to process that. And so she does go home to Franklin and tells him everything, but Franklin realized that Valeria was able to access the Forever Gate and go to anywhere she wanted to go. Now, when it comes to Franklin, he's able to do the same thing, but he wants to go to COPPA, which makes sense because that's the home of the mutants, and he feels like he's a mutant. But then you have Charles Xavier just shut everything down by talking to Franklin through his mind and telling Franklin that Franklin is not a mutant. And what Charles tells us is that when it came to Franklin and his cosmic powers, he had the ability to kind of imaginate that he had X genes inside his body to kind of make Cerebro, the machine Charles Xavier uses to detect mutants, to basically detect that Franklin Richards was a mutant. But in reality, he never was, because thanks to his cosmic powers, he just made up X genes that are no longer around because his powers went away. And so it's Marvel saying Franklin Richards is not a mutant at all. But then we actually jump outside the home of the Fantastic Four, because right now they're about to get company, and that company is actually some random people who are about to walk up to the home of the Fantastic Four. Now, of course, these people are actually stopped by the adopted children of Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters, which of course they do use their Kree and Skrull powers to freak these people out. Now, you do have Ben Grimm able to calm his kids down, but that is the moment you have Ben Grimm realize who these people are. These are the parents of the Future Foundation. Let me explain. So back in the early 2000s of Marvel Comics, Marvel kind of introduced the idea of Reed Richards making a new kind of think tank, a bunch of children coming together to be able to create different things that could possibly help society. And of course, he called it the Future Foundation. The problem is, though, they have been missing for a good period of time because they have been going around trying to find the molecules of the Molecule Man, who was killed off at the very beginning of Fantastic Four by Dan Slott. And so right now they have been gone, and these parents want their children to come back home. And so now it seems like the Fantastic Four are going to find a way to bring those kids back home. And so, of course, we do see the Fantastic Four begin the process of trying to bring home the Future Foundation by using the Forever Gate. Because remember, the Forever Gate does have the ability to travel to any point, any time across the universe. And so, of course, you do have the Fantastic Four use the Forever Gate to call up the Future Foundation to have them use the portal to come back home to Earth. And so, of course, you do have the Future Foundation actually coming back home to Earth. But here comes the big problem, though. The Future Foundation had brought somebody else with them, and that person is Lyja. Now, Lyja is an old character because Lyja is actually the ex-wife of Johnny Storm. So let me explain. When it comes to Elijah, she was the ex-wife of the Human Torch, but she is a Skrull. And remember, Skrulls do have the ability to shapeshift. And so she basically made herself look like Alicia Masters as a way to get close to Johnny Storm. Now, of course, that plan failed. The Fantastic Four were able to stop her, but of course, they did get married. Now, the Human Torch did divorce her, but here comes the problem though. He never told Skye about his ex-wife. And so Skye, his new wife, is like, excuse me, ex-wife? You were married once? And you decided not to tell me this? Why? Now, while you have the Future Foundation talking to their parents, you have the Human Torch talking to Skye about his ex-wife, you have Valeria realizing that when they sent out that call to the Future Foundation by using the Forever Gate, something else also connected to that call. And right now, a bunch of ships are heading to the portal that the Forever Gate had made in the middle of the universe to travel to this Earth. And you have Valeria kind of freaking out and wondering, could this possibly bring more problems for the Fantastic Four? Now, you do have everyone go back home, but you have the Human Torch and Skye stay behind to guard the Forever Gate. But of course, this is the moment you have Skye just yelling at the Human Torch, because the Human Torch never told Skye about his ex-wife, something she feels like that she should know about. But of course, that's the moment you have Skye realize that Johnny Storm is not wearing his soul band. Now, his soul band is kind of like a wedding ring. Had a hard time saying that. Like a wedding ring you wear to show off that you are married. But except a soul band is used as a way to show off that you're married on the home planet of Skye. And so right now, Skye is very upset that Johnny Storm is not wearing his soul band. And what he says to her is that he kind of hates how it looks on his uniform, which of course makes her even angrier, because it's kind of like Johnny Storm saying, wait, you did not tell me about your ex-wife. On top of that, you're not wearing your soul band, and it kind of feels like you don't actually care for me enough to marry me. And that is the moment you do have a bunch of creatures arrive through the Forever Gate. Now, here comes the problem though. Because Johnny Storm and Skye were not paying attention, a lot of creatures were able to travel through the Forever Gate to arrive on Earth. Now, Reed does tell us if Johnny and Skye were paying attention and realized that something was coming, they could have closed off the Forever Gate. The problem is, though, they were arguing. And so that signal that Valeria was talking about earlier that had connected to somebody else or a group of people are now arriving on Earth. All these different creatures, except all these different creatures are going over to Franklin Richards. And the reason why, because Franklin Richards made these creatures. When he had recreated the multiverse, these creatures were made because of Franklin Richards, and they believe that he is their god. But of course, they're all running away from one particular character we saw at the very beginning of Dan Slott Fantastic Four run, and that is the Griever. And so jumping into Fantastic Four number 27, we actually do pick up with the Fantastic Four right now trying to find different ways to kind of store the different aliens that are coming in left and right, because right now they're running away from the Griever. Now remember, when it comes to the Griever, she basically represents the end of everything across the multiverse. And so that is her main purpose, to go around to different universes to basically destroy it. And the reason why she was made is kind of out of the idea of what happened at the end of Secret Wars, where you basically have Franklin Richards and the Fantastic Four trying to revive the multiverse. But of course, with the multiverse coming back, it ruins her idea, her perfect goal in mind, the end of everything across the multiverse. And so right now she wants to kill off Franklin Richards because he has the ability to bring the multiverse back. And of course, that is something she does not want to happen. And so right now, all these different aliens are from different universes across the multiverse just coming here to get away from her. And right now, the Fantastic Four are trying to find different ways to store these aliens just temporarily until they're able to get rid of the Griever. Now, that is the moment we actually do see Reed Richards call up the Silver Surfer, because apparently the Silver Surfer had left Alicia Masters a way to be contacted. And so Reed used that as a way to contact his old friend. Now, the reason why Reed is calling up the Silver Surfer is to have multiple plans in check when it comes time to stop the Griever, because she is a very powerful character. And last time, the Fantastic Four only got lucky to get rid of her temporarily. And of course, she's now back. And so with that being said, right now, she'll be here very soon to go after Franklin Richards. And so he's calling up the Silver Surfer to make a plan B, not plan A, plan B. And so we have no idea what plan B is, and we also have no idea what plan A is. But we do know that it's Reed saying that I don't think plan A is going to work, and so I need a plan B just in case. And of course, he has more faith in plan B rather than plan A. And you then have Reed kind of hand over Franklin Richards a gift. And this gift is basically the Iron Man armor that has the Fantastic Four symbol on it that Tony Stark made for Reed Richards back in the Empire event, as a way to let Franklin Richards use temporarily just in case the Griever does arrive very soon. And of course, she does get close to Franklin Richards, so they'll have a way to actually fight back against her. But of course, this is just Dan Slott reminding us about the Iron Man suit that Reed got from Tony Stark. But of course, right after that happened, the Griever appears. She does reappear, except this time she reappears on Earth, because last time the Fantastic Four did not fight her on Earth. But either way, she's now back on Earth this time, and of course, she's coming after Franklin Richards. Now, when it comes to the Griever, she was able to bring her army of creatures as a way to kind of help her deal with this problem, to kind of help her attack the Fantastic Four. And so you do have the Fantastic Four try their best to stop the Griever before the Griever is actually able to get close to Franklin Richards. But of course, the Griever is so powerful because she's a powerful being that basically represents the end of all things and everything across the multiverse. She's not something that can be stopped so easily. She's on a different level than like Galactus is. And so with that being said, the Fantastic Four can't do anything at all. And so it comes down to the moment where you actually do have the Griever finding Franklin Richards. And of course, he is wearing that Iron Man armor, the one that Tony Stark made for Reed Richards, and hoping that it could possibly help him deal with the Griever. Now, you have to remember that Franklin Richards' powers are gone right now. And so with his powers being gone, of course, that means he can't really fight against the Griever like he did last time. And so you do have Franklin Richards just run away. He runs away. And of course, you do have the Griever chase after Franklin Richards into the home of the Fantastic Four. Because remember, the Fantastic Four were not staying in the Baxter building. They were staying in an apartment building back on the home street of the Thing. And of course, Reed Richards was able to add different dimensions inside that home to give the Fantastic Four a bunch of room inside that small apartment. But either way, though, you do have Franklin Richards just fly the armor suit back inside the home of the Fantastic Four so that the Griever can follow behind him. Now, you do have the Griever being able to actually capture Franklin Richards. And so it does seem like maybe she's about to win. But that is the moment we kind of find out that Franklin was never inside the suit at all. He was just piloting, had a hard time saying that. He was piloting a suit to lead Griever into the apartment of the Fantastic Four to begin the plan A that Reed Richards had cooked up. And so this kind of leads into what I said just a moment ago about the home of the Fantastic Four. How the home of the Fantastic Four is basically just inside an apartment building, but there are different dimensions in that apartment building to help give the Fantastic Four more room to work with. Now, with that being said, though, what Reed did was he had everyone leave the apartment building so that he can crush the entire apartment building and all those different dimensions right on top of the Griever as a way to trap her once again somewhere, to make her basically work very long or very hard to get out of, because now she's trapped in a dimension, and of course it could take her some time to finally get out of that dimension. And so it's Reed hoping that this idea, this plan actually worked, but of course it doesn't, because again, she's a very powerful character, and so she does reappear. She pops right out of that dimension she was trapped in, and of course she begins the process of coming after Franklin Richards once again. And so now it's kind of like, well, Reed's plan A failed. And so what is plan B? And the only thing we know about plan B is it involves the Silver Surfer. Now, when we jump into Fantastic Four number 28, that is the moment we actually do pick up with Silver Surfer just trying to get to Earth. But we do learn what Plan B is. And of course, Plan B is the ultimate nullifier. And this is a very powerful weapon in Marvel Comics, with the ability to blink someone or something out of existence. But of course, if the user has any kind of fear inside of them, of course, they're also blinked out of existence. And so right now, it's the Silver Surfer bringing this over to Earth as a way for Reed to use that to get rid of the Griever, to blink her out of existence. Now, once the Silver Surfer had arrived on Earth, you do kind of find out that basically some of the members of the Fantastic Four have been captured by the Griever. And of course, that would be Reed Richards, Susan Storm, Ben Grimm, and of course, the Dragon Man. And they all have been captured by the Griever. And so now the Silver Surfer has to work alongside with the Human Torch and Sky to save them. Now, you do have the Silver Surfer tell the Human Torch that he plans on using the ultimate nullifier. The problem is, though, with that powerful weapon, he's afraid it might not work on the Griever. And the reason why, because the Griever represents all things to end across the multiverse. And so basically, she's part of the grand plan for the multiverse. And so it's kind of like, can we actually use the ultimate nullifier on something so powerful that's basically tied into the multiverse? Can we actually use the ultimate nullifier to get rid of her? And so right now, to basically Silver Surfer, he feels like it won't work. And so he says, listen, first thing first, we need to free your friends. And so I am going to use the power of Cosmic to fight against her while you guys go free your friends and family. And then we can think on actually using the ultimate nullifier on her. Now, we do kind of find out that with the Griever, what she's doing with each member of the Fantastic Four that she had captured is basically making them live through one of their worst nightmares. And I could sit here and go through each one of their nightmares, but honestly, I don't want to, because it doesn't really do anything for the overall storyline. It's just really more of them going through these nightmares, and you have Johnny Storm being able to free Ben Grimm, and then him and Ben Grimm go around to the other members to help free them from their nightmares. And of course, they can all come together now to fight against the Griever. And luckily, right when Johnny Storm has saved his friends and family, that is the moment you actually have the Silver Surfer lose to the Griever. And so now it comes down to the idea, do they actually use the ultimate nullifier, hoping that it could possibly stop her right here and now? Now, to be honest, I actually do hate this ending a lot, and the reason why, because it happens so fast and quickly. And what I mean is that you do have Dan Slott basically have the Silver Surfer tell us that Franklin Richards has to be the one to use the ultimate nullifier, because what Silver Surfer knows about Franklin is being someone who used to be so powerful he was able to rival the gods, that he should be able to use the ultimate nullifier with no problem at all to hopefully get rid of the Griever. But of course, you do have Susan worried that of course that could possibly backfire, because remember, the ultimate nullifier does have the possibility of also killing off the person who used it. And so right now she's afraid that what the Silver Surfer is thinking could actually be wrong and could possibly kill off the Griever, but also Franklin Richards. And so that is the moment you have Reed say, I got an idea. We use the Forever Gate. And you basically have Reed say, remember, our gate has the ability to access any point in time, anywhere in the universe or now the multiverse. And so what he does, he says, listen, we know what you want. You want to see all things end across the multiverse. So what if I use the Forever Gate to basically teleport you to that point in time where everything is gone? Then you'll finally have what you want. Complete death across the multiverse. The complete end of everything across the multiverse. And of course, the Griever's like, yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. Bye. And she leaves. And that is how the Fantastic Four handle the Griever. And honestly, I hate this ending so much because how fast it was wrapped up. Like, honestly, it felt like Dan Slott did not want to spend any more time on this storyline to make sure it was a good storyline. And so he just wrapped it up very quickly to be done with it, to move on. And I'm kind of like, this sucks. So basically, this is the ending of the storyline. So with that being said, I do hope you enjoyed today's comic book video. And if you do, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.